Hello, goblins. It's Chris, Eldritch Pipes. It's an episode of this week's Pipes, which we'll get to very shortly. I'm smoking, again, Solani's Silver Flake. But I'm just really enjoying it at the moment. I said last week that it was a vapour. It was because I was thinking of 633, which is the more common blend. Silver Flake is slightly more difficult to come across. But Chris Shaw reminded me it's not a vapour. It's a Virginia and Kentucky blend, which I don't think has a Vaken. Or is it a Weber? Who knows? Someone knows. This week, it's been 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. Something's really going my way. Something's not. Resin has been proving an elusive fellow. The current set that I'm working on, the Vintage Swirl, is proving difficult to nail down. I do test sizes of these 6-inch rods, and all my tests were done using these. And I'd got to the point where I was ready to move on to full size rods. So I did a bunch. These are in the smaller diameter. This is 19mm. And so far, I haven't had feedback on all of them, but the feedback that I have had on the ones that have been used, they're not really doing what they should be doing. And in fact are doing some unexpected things. But they may be pretty in their own right, but they're not what I was going for, if you know what I mean. However, I do a larger size, that's a 24mm diameter. And those ones seem to be doing exactly what I intended. And I don't know why there's a difference between the two. We've been chatting about possibilities. There is quite a lot of factors that go into these. They're a more complicated pour than the Cumberland. And so it must be something in the pour, in the temperatures, in the densities of the pigments. I don't know. I don't know yet. We'll have to see what comes. I'll do some more experimenting. But pipes have really been going my way. We'll get to those in a moment. I wanted to mention one more thing before we got to pipes. I don't know what the Venn diagram crossover is between pipe smokers and Magic the Gathering players. But I play a format called Commander. And they recently brought out a Commander deck. They call them a pre-constructed, which means you don't go out and find all the cards yourself. They're just pre-packaged. And that's how I do it at the moment. Called the Mind Flayers. And basically, it's a so-called tribe deck of horrors. All the creatures in it are of the horror type, which is intriguing. But then look who the commander is. I forget his actual name, but he's Cthulhu. Obviously, he's Cthulhu with a pirate's hat and a sword. And it actually has, if you can see, the Mind Flayer, where Stranger Things has taken inspiration from. So it was like, basically, this is Eldritch pipes. This is your commander deck. Thank you. Good night. So I had to have it. All right, let's move that out of the way. Let's have a look at some pipes. There's something interesting about all of these. Mind you, what's the point of making them if there isn't? So obviously, a Viking Horn. In a fairly unusual colour palette. This is a really deep violet. So a deep violet sandblast. With a violet wave stem. I'm always kind of a little wary when people ask for the more unusual colours, certainly purple. But then each time I do it, I then forget how well Briar actually takes purple. It takes it extremely well, which is kind of surprising. Maybe the stain is just strong enough to override the yellow-orangey tones of Briar. But yeah, so he works really well. Obviously, when he asked for purple as the stain, my mind immediately went to the ultraviolet wave as the stem, which is one of the resins from the new range. And yeah, very happy with how he turned out. There we go. The next two are the same shape, but rendered very differently. This is the Louisiana Cultist. It's a dark chocolate stain, blasted back with then a top stain of a kind of a lime green. Obviously heavily carved into the stem as well. As you know, I don't like it when carved pipes end at the briar. I find that transition very stark and abrupt. So carving into the stem really sort of helps make that rustication flow. And then I create the stop where I want to create it. And this is the moss Cumberland. As you can see, it's my cutty shape in essence, but with the heavy rustication and tweaked shaping, shall we call it. Those are a lot of fun to make. You kind of go into a zen place when you're doing this kind of like surface carving. It's intense, but it's a very pleasing place to go to. So, last one for today. So yes, cutty shape again, but this time in a smooth. If you remember the Viking Horn from last week, this is essentially the exact same treatment. So it's a dark chocolate stain, sanded back to just briar. So you could call it a dark chocolate and briar contrast. And then earth and ivory stem. You might be able to tell it's just slightly translucent at the top. There you go. So my second smooth in as many weeks. That's I'm going well now. You never know if the wood is going to give you a smooth until you carve it. Simple as that. You cross your fingers and you cross your toes, but it doesn't make much difference. Alright. That's it from me. I should be back next week, same time, same bat channel, for this week's pipes. So until then, take it very easy. Your loyal pipe maker.